Hi, and welcome everybody to this edition of Discussing Digital. And today I'm talking with Karen Williams, the book mentor from Libotas. Karen, would you like to give a bit more of an introduction to yourself?
Absolutely. Thanks for inviting me, Rob. So yeah, I'm Karen Williams. I'm the book mentor, and my journey started out in 2006 when really fate, difficulty at work prompted me to get my own coach. And I found a coach and thought, actually, I found a job, a career, a business that I'd quite like to run. The first few years were a little bit challenging, but everything changed for me when I wrote my first book in 2009. And I would love to say it was easy, but it wasn't. And I think if it was easy, I probably wouldn't be doing what I do today. I went through, where do I get started? What if it's no good? And how do I get the book published? And it did. 18 months later, I was at my book launch, amazing success. And it really turned my business on its head and changed it completely. And I did say never again after that first one, but here we are today. I'm just about to publish a second edition of the fifth book, and book number 10, a planner to accompany that book, will also be out in September 2023. And really, for the last 10 years, I've supported business experts to write their own books, taking them through the whole process from idea through to publication, marketing and launch. And I love what I do every day.
Wow, that's great to have done so much success and be doing something you love. Now, one of the things that I know is a feature in the book you're about to publish, but also has been a feature of what you've been doing over the last few months, is actually using digital marketing and digital channels, not only to promote your book, but also at times to kind of help narrow down some of the things in it. So, for instance, I know I've seen and responded to polls about what should I call the book and things like that. So I'd really love to kind of spend some of this episode today, not just talking about the great way you use digital marketing in general, because you do, but specifically how you've been using it to help develop the book, and also how you will be using it to promote the book as it goes live, if that's okay.
Absolutely. One of the things I learned when I wrote that first book is one of the coaches I interviewed for it, he said, choose 3 ways of marketing your business and do them well. And I think these days there's so many things you can do that we can get overwhelmed and we think, oh, we need to do everything, but actually you don't. But I also believe that once you've got 3 things in place, like website, blog, email marketing, you can layer other things into it. And I suppose it's the layering that I've been doing most recently in terms of for the book launch itself. I've been focusing on video marketing, so I've started doing a video blog on a Friday to take people through my own process as I approach the launch. So I started it, where are we now? So that was probably the end of June I started it. I recorded the first episode. Now I'm a writer. I don't enjoy videos. It can take me 2 hours to record a 5-minute video, but it's really made me up my game and also remember what I've done in terms of, the launch. So I've been doing things like I've been planning an Amazon launch, a lot of digital stuff involved with that. Setting up my own podcast. Again, there's a lot of tech. I am using someone to help edit it and upload them, but I'm doing obviously the recording of that myself. The Amazon launch is going to be a big thing. So there's a lot I've been doing around using digital, specifically around the book itself.
Okay. Yeah. I mean, there's so much we could pick out just from that section. So to start with, I'm just going to talk a bit more about video, because I mean, obviously we're recording this on video, and my aim is to turn this into a podcast as well. And thank you for the introduction to the person that you're working with. So I will be in contact with him there. But how do you find recording video? I mean, you said it can take you a few hours to do it, but is it kind of one of those, oh, I don't like it, but I've got to do it? Or do you kind of, once you get into the swing of it, and sort of enjoy it? Because the reason why I'm saying that is I've looked at your website, obviously I've watched some of the videos that you do, and you're using video really well. Some really interesting stuff you're doing. So I'd just be interested to kind of just talk about that a bit more, to try and encourage some of the businesses that might not like doing video at the moment, how they can sort of make that a bit better.
Well, it's keeping it simple. I use Zoom just to record it because it's just easy. So I just literally set myself up in front of my computer, my webcam, my microphone, and I do it. And I use Zoom to record it. So really keeping it simple. I do script it because I like to focus on a bite-sized chunk. So for example, with the launch, I've been looking at what themes do I want to cover over the launch, because it could be a bit repetitive if I'm saying, well, I recorded a podcast interview or I recorded a video and I did this and I did that. So I've been trying to pick a theme for each time I've done it. So I sit here and I have a script, not word by word, of course, but kind of just an idea of what I want to cover. I'll do practice a couple of times. I did one yesterday for this week, and I did it in one take. Sometimes if I fluff my words in the first few sentences, I might start again, but actually it's authentically me at the end of the day. If I fall over my words, or I say a few ums and ahs, or which is something I think all of us do, it's okay, because that's me. So I joke and say it takes a long time, but normally I do it in 1 or 2 takes, and I go, yeah, it's good enough. And I think before you press record, we talked about done is better than not done. I think I remember your phrase, but it's just about doing it, really. And then one of the things I did is I set up a process, so to remind myself of what I need to do each week. So I record the video, I put the captions on it, I upload it to YouTube, I put it on my blog, and I send it out to my mailing list. So they're the 5 things I do. And then I also tell my social media manager that I've done it, so she can do a social media post. So I guess that's 5 technical things that I do, but because there's a process now, it doesn't take too long.
Yeah, I think that's really good that you have established a process to allow you to build it in. You put some time aside, because that's the other thing that a lot of people struggle with, certainly small business owners. They're busy trying to do, they're not trying to do the wrong word. They're delivering their services or producing their products. And then how do I find the time to do this? But as you say, you've got a really good process. Capture some stuff about what you've been doing this week, so there's some content, and then you put some time aside to produce it and to actually distribute. So that's a really, really good tip for anybody sort of that struggles with how to do their digital marketing. Yeah. Well,
I found that episode 2, I can't remember what I did last week. What did I do? I better write it down. And I do work with people who support me in the business, but actually, because I am quite technically minded myself, it doesn't take me long to do it. But obviously it's something that people can outsource as well to people who can do it so much quicker than them. But for me, it's a really good reinforcement by listening back to the video and going, okay, so what were the key points that need to go in the blog? What is the hook that I can talk about on a newsletter? So that's why I generally do it myself, is because I can bring all of that together as I do it. So literally, if it's a 5-minute video, it takes me 1.5 hours, 2 hours to actually do everything end to end. So I'm just scheduling that into my time.
No, that's really good. And I think you mentioned in your process about how you distribute stuff, email marketing, your use of email. I'd like to talk about that a little bit more, because I think a lot of businesses don't really use or like using email. It's a bit like video. But I think it's a really important part of any digital marketing strategy. So could we just talk a little bit more about how you use email within your sort of marketing and just raising awareness of what you're doing?
Yeah, so I have a lead magnet, or a couple of lead magnets on my website. So a free download that people can leave their name and email address to get something valuable that's going to help them in their business. So I've got 21 questions. I've got a masterclass as well. That also leads into other products and services that I offer to people. So people like what I do, they want to look at more. I have got a sales funnel set up. I've been working for the last few years in conjunction with the marketing expert. So he's been working alongside me to set that up. And I keep in touch on a regular basis. I'm a writer, so it's easy, Rob, for me to actually write stuff. I've always got content. That's never a problem. So I can see something I've done. I go, oh, that would make this piece of content, that piece of content. Obviously, I've got 10 books to produce, loads of content. So that's not a problem for me. I share case studies. I share updates. There's all sorts of things I can do. So it's not a problem with me. And I communicate with my mailing list at least once a week. Sometimes more. At the moment, it's a little bit more frequent because I've got more to say. But normally it's at least once a week. It's always at least once a week. And I've been using email newsletters since I started out in 2006. So it's not a new thing for me. It's just become that consistent habit.
Yeah, no, and it helps that you're a writer, so because that's another thing people struggle with sometimes. Oh, I've got to write something, but yeah, it's good that again you build it into your habit. As you say, you try and send an email out at least once a week. So I think that's really powerful. You also mentioned your lead magnet and the structure of your website, because I have been through that, and I must admit, again, I think your website's really well structured. I love the fact that your 21 questions, but you've got that great video right center straight of your homepage, you and Cheryl. So I think that's really good. And I have followed most of the lead magnets and stuff like that, which kind of leads us on nicely to something you talked about when we said about, is there something you'd like me to talk about? And that's your work you did using ChatGPT earlier this year.
Yeah.
And I know that's one of the things to link through to. I haven't had a chance to watch the whole video yet, but I will, because I know it's something that I'm interested in, but also obviously a lot of people are interested in knowing about ChatGPT because it's an AI in general, because there's so much of it out there being discussed at the moment. So could you give a little bit of a chat about what you've been doing and how you've used AI and ChatGPT?
Well, I think with anything in business, when you have a potential threat or potential opportunity, you have to see, is it a threat or an opportunity? So when I came across ChatGPT around about January time, I signed up for a couple of webinars with other people, and I thought, let's explore it. I signed up for ChatGPT. I pay the $20 a month, so I've got access to it as and when I want to. And to be fair, I use it most days. When I ran my first masterclass, which I can't remember when it was now, but it was earlier this year, so beginning part of the year, I just wanted to explore, could it help me to write a book? And it did. I did an experiment saying, write me a book. It was 10,000 words. It was okay. I would never publish it because it was just the book. But actually, there's so many ways you can use ChatGPT or any other AI tool to help you. So, for example, if you've got an idea, if sometimes I sit down and go, I want to write this email newsletter, this is the kind of thing I want to write. So I'll often use ChatGPT as a research tool and dump it in there and just see what it comes up with. Normally it's a little bit flowery, it's not my voice, but it might just give me an idea of how to structure it. So sometimes I can use it like that. I've used it to help with the updates for Book Marketing Made Simple. So for example, if there's a chapter, I did a new chapter on having a street team to help promote the book. So I said to ChatGPT, what needs to go in this chapter? So it gave me some ideas. So it's almost a sanity check against what I was writing. So there's a couple of things. Obviously, I've run some training. Some of my clients use it with my support. It's never going to be a replacement of your voice and your style, but use it as a research tool. Use it to help you. Use it when you've got that blank page syndrome and you want to write something, but you've got no idea where to start. That's when it comes into its own. But don't copy and paste it because it's not your voice. There are lots of red flags around ChatGPT as well, but just use it use it however you feel you want to use it. I said I use it a lot. I've been don't ask me what it's called, but I was recommended another AI tool to do podcast notes. Cast Magic, I think it was. Someone recommended it, and I've been playing around with that this week, and so it's another tool I'm probably going to sign up for, because again, if it makes it quicker and easier for you, you might as well use it.
Yeah. Okay. That's quite good. You mentioned your podcast. So this is a good opportunity to give it a little plug. I know you said you're launching it next month. So give it a little plug now. So
when I updated Book Marketing Made Simple, I've got various experts who talk about different elements of marketing books. So things from blogging, websites, Instagram, LinkedIn, podcasts, all sorts of things. And I contacted the people that contributed to the book and said, do you want to be on my podcast? So that's series 1. It's called Business Book Bites. It launches early September. Five podcasts in, 5 more to record for the initial series, and I've got a couple of ideas for 2 more series, so see where the first one goes. But I've been doing interviews like this for a long time. But there is something that happens when you do something that's named podcast, because it kind of puts it in a different sphere in my mind anyway. So it's been interesting, and I'm still learning about the different things to do with it.
Yeah, it's funny if you said that when we were chatting beforehand. You said about that when it's fine having a chat, and then suddenly the word podcast comes in, and somebody presses the record button, and sometimes your mind just goes, "What's going on?"
But I'm quite a planner, so I like to plan them out. I like to write the introduction, so I know that I'm introducing the person in the best possible way. I don't want to wing it. But then when the conversation goes, it's so much more organic. We have some ideas of questions from the guest of what they want to be asked around the topic they're talking about in the book, and then we meander and we go wherever on the podcast itself. But actually it's always good to have a starting point and knowing where you want to start with it.
Absolutely. And it's as you say, it's good to have some structure, but also that fluidity to go where the kind of just the direction of the conversation goes. But also one of the things I found learning this is like suddenly go, it's not that easy to be a chat show host, is it? Because that's kind of what this is a bit like. And sometimes you realize the skill that you've seen of people that do chat show hosts go, okay, not as easy as it looks sometimes. Brilliant. So talking of launches, about you've said, we're talking a lot about your book, your relaunch of Book Marketing Made Simple. So again, we can give that a little bit of a plug. When is that going to be relaunched? Relaunched. When are you launching your new book? When is it due to be published?
28th of September.
28th of September. Well, that was a date that was firmly booked in your head, that burned into your head.
Yeah, it was. Yes, we've been working towards it. So fingers crossed. I think we're all on track for that at the moment. I should be getting the proof copy within the next few days. But I decided not just to launch one book, because I think I alluded to earlier, I'm launching a marketing planner alongside it.
Yeah.
So that's just one of those things. Tracy, my business manager, when we were talking about the launch, and I've got a couple of planners I've created before, a writing planner and a writing journal, and she said, are you going to do a planner alongside the book? And it was another job to add to the list. But again, it's about, I think the most important thing, Rob, when it comes to anything like this, is knowing where you can turn to. So for example, I've got someone who does the design for me. I've got someone who does kind of some of the marketing stuff, although I'm quite technically minded and I like to jump in and do some of this. It's good to know you've got other people there to support you as well. You don't need to know everything. So that's if one piece of advice that people can take from this. If some of the stuff I'm saying is a little bit too much, go to experts like you. Like, there's a lot of people out there who can support in so many ways and make it easy as possible.
Okay, that's kind of preemptive. One of the things I sort of said I normally ask people when I'm recording this. One is a good tip. So I'm happy to take that as your one thing to recommend, unless you've got something else you want to share as one thing to recommend.
I think that's probably my one thing. That would be good.
Okay.
It's I think if I had to add one more thing, it's just about raising your profile, especially when it comes to a book launch. Do what you need to do to raise your profile. Don't be afraid of doing lots of stuff, because actually you want your message to get out to as many people as possible. So you can have that bonus tip.
Brilliant. Excellent. And if there was one thing to say, don't do that. Just don't do it. Have you got one thing that for that as well?
Don't try and do everything, because I sometimes I feel like there are, we talked earlier about multiple jigsaws. There's a lot of things going on, and they do all link together, and they're all on the same theme. They all link together. One thing that I don't do as much as I should do is I do test and measure, but I don't always track my analytics. So for example, on social media, and I think that's one of the things that's drummed into me, is check your analytics. One thing I will do as a result of the launch, because I'm teaching this and because I'm taking people through my process, of course I'm going to have all the figures related to that. But I don't always sit down and actually do those figures as I go, okay, so what's worked, what hasn't worked. I think when I launched my first book, I bit pretty much threw everything marketing wise at it, and something stuck.
Yeah.
But I think now I know a little bit more about what sticks and what doesn't. But it's always about test, measure, and then work out what do you need to do more, what do you need to do less of as a result.
Yeah, absolutely. And what's working well, so I'll do more of it. And if that really isn't working, then don't put too much energy into it. Go and focus on something else as well. I think that's again brilliant tips. So that's great. Before we wrap up, obviously people may well want to be able to follow what you've been doing. So what's the best way for them to get in contact with you, or to be able to follow you, and then kind of maybe from there follow all your other channels as well?
Best place to go is my website, libotas.com, which is libotas.com, and you've got all my social media links on there. Link to Book Marketing Made Simple. You can find anything you want to know about me on the website.
Okay, fantastic. And we'll put all your links into the description when we post the video of this on YouTube.
Thank you.
Once I've learned more about podcasting, I'll do the same if I can when I publish this as a podcast.
Yeah, you just need some show notes.
Yeah.
Simple as that.
Okay, that's cool. All right. Well, I just want to say thank you so much for taking the time to speak with me today. You've shared so many great tips about digital marketing. So I really enjoyed not only watching, learning everything that you send and reading everything you send and processing it, because you share so much. But I do also like, as you said about the jigsaws, the fact that you have all the bits in the jigsaw going. So you've got a website, you've got social media channels, you've got email, you've got video, and now you're going to have podcasts as well as books, because that's what your actual base business is. So you've got it all covered. I personally, I just think as a business owner, you're brilliant at digital marketing. So it's really good. So thank you ever so much.